what's up? This is Head from Korn.
Well, welcome here. We are very happy to have Brian Head Welch joining us. His new book is out, With My Eyes Wide Open.
Yes.
And this is going to be such a great book for folks that not only appreciated your first book, but fans that were curious about how it was you got back into the Korn.
Yeah, the book is totally a ride like my first book, and it's the first book I shared about the intimate details about when we were kids, about forming Korn and all that, all the way up to regrouping and just the whole Korn story. And now this one is a really personal and secret and intimate look about the reconciliation and what all went in with that. But it's more than that. It's like the book is just like my first book was more than the Korn story. It was my daughter's story. It was my story. It was, a story of just redemption and everything. And so this book's the same thing. It's like, what happened to that little girl in the first book, right? What happened to that girl like she was singing Adidas all day, dreaming about sex. It's a 5-year-old. And then at the end of the book, I'm trying to take care of her. So what happened to her? Well, that comes full circle. And the good times, the bad times, and the horrible times that I walked through with my teenage daughter. So it's really a part 2 of that first book. And it's just as raw, honest, and real and emotional as that book. It's funny and it's really sad and difficult sometimes. But I think that anyone who liked the first book would love to see how it turned out,
And I think this book, we kind of see you go like on a roller coaster. Your ups and downs were just like crazy. Did you ever think there was that moment when it was never going to get better?
Oh, gosh. I was like, okay, I overcame drug addiction. I found my faith. I did everything that I was supposed to do to make things right. I asked for forgiveness for everybody I wronged. I forgave everybody that wronged me. I quit the bad rock and roll life to be with my kid. And so I was like, finally, peace. The next thing you know, I'm handed a bunch of difficulties that are different than the first book, but just, almost as hard. But, I lost finances. I lost my house, my cars, it was just one thing after another. I got in lawsuits, and I didn't really understand why. And so I was just like, when is this going to end? But I had a peace inside of me because my faith, it's like I totally believe in God, and I know that I invited him to come and live inside of me and to kind of live through me. And so the first book was like all the stuff I wrote about was hopelessness. This book I had hope inside of me. I was like, it's going to turn around. It's only a matter of time. But it was more painful because my daughter's brokenness was involved, and that is way more painful to watch someone else you love go through pain.
In the book, you talk about what the feeling is like when, you invite God into your life, when like the butterflies. Could you explain?
Yeah.
Could you explain a little bit? Because I think Janaea, your daughter, also experienced something similar.
Yeah, totally. It's like, to me, I'm all about, I'm not a religious guy. I've always been the guy to say, religion sucks and spiritual life is what it is. It's because man puts rules on people and all that. It's about a relationship with God. And I've had spiritual experiences where all throughout the Bible, there's like, angels would visit people. There'd be like, people would have encounters with God, but it's a feeling of a purity that's not from this planet. And it's a love that is from another dimension, and it's accessible. And some people think I'm a weirdo when I talk about it, or a nut job, but it's a real tangible thing. And I'm only one of millions, maybe billions, that have encountered it. So it's real. And I know that we have all types of different people, atheists and believers in this religion or whatever. But, Jesus is the only one that guarantees. He says, I'll give you a deposit of what's to come in the next life. I'll give you a little piece now of heaven, and I'll put it inside of you. You can experience it, and then you'll know what's to come. So that's what I experienced, that little piece. And so it feels like those like butterflies or purity, like from a divine place, you know. And I feel it a lot. Honestly, I'm not as crazy as I was with you know, like when I left Korn. I was, next thing you know, I'm on CNN in a white robe and getting baptized. I'm not as crazy like that anymore. It's more personal to me now, but it is real, and anybody can experience it. That just first you got to humble yourself. You got to realize, say, okay, if this is real, like that wacko head says, then I want you to come in and I want to know this too. So you got to humble yourself, and then it's by faith, you know.
How did this journey help to bring you back to Korn?
Oh wow, it's just, you know, I started real. At first, it was all about my daughter, and I had to get away from the evil rock world because all the drugs. You know, my life was evil. My life was probably more evil at home than it was on the road with Korn. I was just like, I was all into all the sickest porno you can get and everything, and I had this just pure little innocent child there, and but when I got out of Korn, it was like, stay away from that. You know, I just want to get away from that, and then the journey, like it started to open my eyes, like God loves the whole world, you know, and he, I think he inspires everything on the planet that doesn't harm you. You know, it's like even metal music. He can be right there with us, enjoying what we enjoy, because everything is created and came from him. I believe all gifts, and so the journey led me right back to Korn, and also, you know, God is about family, and those guys are my family. I grew up with them. We started music together. I wouldn't be even into music and just transitioned into all this different types of styles of music without my family, without, you know, going through the Faith No More days and the Red Hot Chili Pepper days and the Alice in Chains, Metallica, and all those just twists and turns that we did to get influences for who Korn is today. And so that's where that journey led me back to, just my family, and then the fans. Like that's an extended family too. I wish there was some way that we could just reconstruct time that I can spend time with all those fans, like on a personal level. And I get to sometimes, the ones that wait for hours afterwards, and so, but yeah, it's just the journey led me back, and you know, it's just the heart of God is huge, and I just realized how big it is for everybody.
The band Korn has been working on some new music. How would you describe the new stuff that's going to be out, I guess, sometime later this year?
I would definitely describe the new Korn music as intense. Like I was telling someone earlier that we wrote this record thinking about what Korn was when we first started. Like we can write, I think we've learned how to write songs. We can write good songs a lot, you know, but what is Korn? And so we started this band thinking of the live shows and what the crowd would do with us. How can we connect with the crowd? And we would write songs thinking like that. So this new record, it was all about what's going to happen when we play this song. What's going to happen when we play this riff? And that's the new record. It's just intense, and it's all every song I think is a live song, and so it's going to be hard to choose which ones we play live, because that's how the whole record's written. And Jonathan just he always like digs deep and shares painful stuff, but I feel like he grabbed his soul and ripped it open for this record again, like he used to do, and people are going to feel that.
Thinking back 22 years, how did Korn get their name?
Korn got their name as we were all sitting underneath the Huntington Beach, California pier. It was nighttime, and we were just thinking, what can we call the band? We got Jonathan to move down. He quit his mortuary job or whatever he was doing, working at Pizza Hut. And so it was on. We're like, we're doing this. This is a band. What are we going to call it? And we're just talking about names. It would be cool if that whole thing was recorded, so we can see the other band names we came up with. But I remember Jonathan said, "How about Korn?" We were like, "Korn?" And he told some story about just some crazy story. I'm not even gonna say it right now, but and then he started. I think someone said, "Yeah, it could be like Children of the Corn too." You know that movie? And then he was like, he sang about lyrics, like a lot of his lyrics were about his childhood struggles. And so he says, "What if like a little kid tried to write corn and they spelled it wrong, Korn?" And then we did the backwards R thing. So we were like, you know what? Either people will love it or hate it, but they won't forget the name Korn. And that's what you got to do. You got to imprint the name of your band into people's minds so they won't ever forget it. And so there it was. And we took it to our management, Larry Weintraub at the time, and he said, "You cannot call your band Korn. No one is ever going to sign a band called Korn, and you won't do nothing." And we said, "Okay, well, we'll just call the band Larry then. We'll name it after you." And he said, "Shut up. Just come up with a name." We said, "No, we're going to call it Larry or Korn, but yeah, we'll just put Larry. We'll put your face on the cover of our album and everything." And he was like, "Fine, just keep Korn then. But you're not going to go nowhere with that name. It's not going to be, I don't know if he said you're not going to go anywhere, but he said it's going to be tough, And so, bam, you were wrong, Larry, in your face. I think you should buy this book because it's inspiring. I poured my heart and soul into this thing. It's funny. It's sad. It's everything. I mean, it's got everything in it. And me and my daughter share just really personal things in our personal life. But more than that, it's the Korn story about reconciling with my brothers and all the intimate details that go on behind the scenes. So I think you'll love it. Check it out.